A Japanese certified chronometer? Really? Yes, indeed. And these are interesting because these came about from the Japanese, or Seiko specifically, back in the 60s, making movements and testing them to COSC standards, as it were. COSC standing for Contrôle Officiel Suisse de Chronometer. And it is the organisation, as many of you will know, which test and approve Swiss movements, exclusively Swiss movements now, for mechanical watch accuracy. So this is a reference to mechanical watches only, not to quartz, which can be certified, but quartz is a whole different kettle of fish regarding the accuracy constraints and what have you. So what happened was, Seiko back in the 60s made a range of watches and movements and tested them to Swiss chronometer standards, and proudly labelled these Chronometer Officially Certified, or something similar, as you can see on this example down here. This is a high beat automatic officially certified chronometer, and the Swiss got a little bit huffy about this because in essence what was happening was that Seiko were using the officially certified label without paying for the officially certified procedure via themselves. They kicked up a little bit of a stink about it. They won their case regarding the certification label, and they subsequently offered to set up an office in Japan where watch manufacturers in Japan could actually send their movements to be COSC certified. That particular office was closed in 1983, I think it was, due to the huge surge and popularity in quartz movements at the time and the enormous drop-off in interest for mechanical movements. So what we have here is a Seiko chronometer, and you don't see these incredibly often. They're not super rare or anything, but you don't see them as often as you might think, especially in comparison to many other Seikos. And I just thought it would be quite interesting to have a look at this one. As you can see, sadly, this one is DOA. This it's not running. We don't know what's wrong with it as yet. It is most certainly not COSC accurate unless you count the twice a day that it is precisely right currently. But hopefully we can revive this and get it ticking again. It's a beautiful watch. It's a lovely bracelet, as you can see there. It's really nice. It's got a nice case back. It's a monoblock case. It's an open through crystal type. So we're going to go ahead and open this. And the first thing I need to do is find the slot on here. And we need to remove the bezel with a case knife like so. This lifts away. We then need to, now this is a little bit sticky, quite understandably. It's been sat in this condition for I don't know how long, so I'm just going to try and gently lever this. Where's my pokey stick? There we go. Plastic pokey stick. I'm just going to try and gently encourage this crystal up and away from the case. Oh, nice, very good. And that's come away with the gasket, as you hopefully can see there. Pop that to one side. We can now see the movement, and you can see down the side of it there the setting lever. So if you look down the side just here, you'll see that protruding in the fully in position, and that disappears if I pull the stem out to the hand setting position, as you can see. And interestingly, we can also see that the day and date change is nowhere near where it should be. Okay, so let's pop the stem out. Try and do this and keep this on the camera for you. There we go. And at this point we can uncase the movement. Okay, which I expected to just drop out, but it's not doing, so I'm going to see if that needs a little bit of judicious wiggling or adjusting. No, it looks like it should just left clear. I just want to be careful with this because I don't want to damage the dial and hands. Let's get that focused. Let's actually move this camera up so you can see a bit of a wider view. Alright, so here I just want to do a little bit of judicious wiggling to see where we are at and whether this needs to be rotated, as is sometimes the case with front loaders. Now, there's not a great deal of wiggle room because of the setting lever sticking out, so there we go. There's the case. It does appear to have little locking tabs here. I think that's a locking ring. It actually looks like that might have been pressed down a little bit previously, so I could be wrong. It may just be intended to be fitted in one particular position like so and stay there. Let's have a look at the back of the movement. Have we got cutouts for the tabs? Oh, we've got something's just fallen off. That's always fun. What have we got down here? That looks like some kind of locking tab, as you often find on oscillating weights. However, the oscillating weight on this, as you can see, is held by a central screw. But that looks very much like the kind of locking tab that you often find on oscillating weights. So we'll pop that to one side so we don't lose it. And I don't think anything else has dropped into there, so I'll just pop that in there. And let's see what we have on the back. Okay, so it's certainly not the locking tab. I can see where that's come from. We have what appears to be a missing screw. Okay, so that's the oscillating weight, which is held by a screw, as I thought it was. Now, I suspect this little locking fork lives in here, at a guess, which is what appears to be the reduction wheel for the automatic winding system, and it looks like it belongs in here, and that, yes, yeah, that slides into there, and we obviously have a missing screw, so that will need a little bit of further investigation. That's clearly the reduction wheel for the automatic winding system. So that's interesting. A missing screw is better than the missing tab. however, so I've got to be grateful for that. I'm assuming that will just lift out. Indeed it does. Is that missing, or is that actually broken? Bear with me while I have a quick close-up look. Ooh. Yeah, that's not actually missing, that's broken. So somewhere floating around in this movement, I suspect, is the head of a screw. And also, it means that I'll need to find some means of removing that screw. That's a nuisance. However, it could be worse. Could be worse. Hopefully that will be accessible from the rear side. Let's have a look to see if we have any movement on balance. Absolutely nothing at all. Nothing at all. But it's entirely feasible that that's currently being stopped by a screw head, for example. So I'm not going to be poking and forcing that until I remove the balance and we can see precisely what is going on. I'm not going to do too much disassembly at this point without removing the hands and the dial, because of course I don't want to cause damage to the hands and the dial. Oh wow. Now, oh yes. Now that's fascinating. I've just noticed something. You'll note under here there's a screw right there, the screw head. And I've read about these. First time I've seen one. So this is really interesting to me. I'm just going to very gently put that down there and bring this back in, which is the case. And you'll note there, if I can bring that up so it's in focus for you, down there is a screw. Now obviously I didn't notice this because I didn't take the bracelet off, but if you remove this bracelet link here, that screw will be removable. That enables you to insert a screwdriver onto this screw, which allows you fine tuning of the timekeeping. So you've essentially got an external fine-tuning mechanism for the timekeeping mechanism. That's really fascinating. Very cool stuff. I like that. Innovative and interesting. Very good. So let's pop you off. There we go. I can see a click type spring. Let's pop this . Okay, so you can see here the regulating pin, which connects with the little cam of that screw. Very interesting. Neat, very small and precise and fascinating. I like that. I like that a lot. There's a tiny little spring here. I'm not sure what that's for just at the moment. What do we have? We have... Oh, I wonder if this is a hack. A little lever here and a spring which looks as if it's popped out just as I lifted the balance out. I can see that's going to be... That's obviously one of the very fun type. Oh, sorry. off the screen there. My apologies. Okay, I'm just going to take that out and remove it for the moment so I don't ping that off into oblivion and lose it. But down here, if you can see this, we have a little lever that spring bears against, and I'm wondering if that is a balance stop lever, like a hacking mechanism. It could well be. We've obviously got some wind on the mechanism because the pallet is flicking across. It's a little lackluster, not exactly bouncing with lots of power and energy. Could just be that it's not very fully wound, but it could just be that everything's gummed up, which is highly likely. It could also be that someone has very obviously been in here before, so we really don't know for sure what we're going to find until we dig down a bit deeper. Here's an interesting little note. Having just refitted the balance, having gotten the hacking lever spring back in place, which is indeed what it is, and refitted the balance to try and see if we can get things moving. No joy on that score, because it's obviously very gummed up, or something else is amiss somewhere. But you can now see, if you look at the fine adjust arm on the balance, you can see that we now have adjustment via this screw. And previously, when I was demonstrating it, we weren't getting any adjustment, which shows that something wasn't meshing correctly. So the balance was obviously not correctly in place. But you can see that's how the fine adjustment works. Just we're okay on the handshake of the balance there. The balance is actually moving now. But as mentioned previously, we could still have a screw head from here floating around inside the movement somewhere. Hopefully we will find that. It's feasible it might not be there at all. As I say, somebody else has already been in this case in the past. They've uncased this, and who knows what might be missing. So the next step is to remove the dial hands, and then we can get a more in-depth look at the movement. But that's just a little preview, because I certainly find this interesting. It's not a Seiko movement I've worked on before, and it looks very, very beautifully made. Very nice finishing on the plates and on the ratchet wheel and such. So hopefully you found that interesting also. Thank you for watching. We'll possibly do a video on servicing this one. I'm not 100% sure yet, because I do actually have another couple of watches. Well, one of which is on test, and one that's currently in pieces awaiting rebuild, all belonging to the same chap. And I would like to try and get this one doing something that it should, as it were. A little bit of motion and telling the time would be nice. We'll see how we go. So we have an update on the Japanese certified chronometer. As you can see, we've got that beating. Not beating very well. It has a very poor amplitude, and doing a little bit of disassembly, taking off the oscillating weight and the first reduction wheel and the balance and pallets after removing the power. After a little bit of judicious poking around, I found the head of the screw, reassembled everything. Unfortunately, that made no difference whatsoever. It still would not run. And there was movement through the train without the pallets. although a little sticky, so it definitely is in need of a clean. The pallets themselves were reacting appropriately when in place and power was applied, and with a gentle touch with the tip of the tweezers it was flicking to and fro and making good contact with the escape wheel. The balance, however, just refused to beat. It would move if nudged, but it would not oscillate at all. There's a very thin area for the hairspring to sit underneath the balance cock, which you may be able to see there. I don't know how well that shows up. And the hairspring was not flat, and what was happening was it was touching the back part. Let me get my pegwood. It was touching the back part of the balance cock here. I was able to make some slight corrections. As you can see, it's stopping with the slightest touch there. I was able to make some slight corrections, but only just enough to actually get the balance swinging, which it is doing, as you can see, just not particularly well. And the reality of it is, for this particular movement, it really requires a replacement balance complete. Now, the problem with this one is the fact that parts are apparently rarer than rocking horse excreta. So this is not one that's going to happen in a hurry, if it does at all, unfortunately. So that's as much as you're going to see of this one with regards to stripping down. I'm not stripping down the watch unnecessarily. We know it does beat. With a replacement balance, we could get things moving. You can see there that the balance cock is actually slightly loose. It's not fully tightened down, because when it's fully tightened down, it just clamps down on the balance and it stops it swinging. Now, it could well be just because of the hairspring issue and the clearance issue, as mentioned previously. That might be the only reason. It could also be that there's that this needs adjusting with a shim or something similar. But that's again something that is pointless addressing until or unless the option of replacing the balance complete arrives. But what I can do is show you the hacking function, which works. So pull the stem out to the center position, which of course is day and date setting. Nothing happens. Pull it out to the time setting position, and as you can see, that stops the balance. Push it back in, and away it goes again. And you can just see, if you look down here in this gap, just down there in this little gap, you can actually see the balance stop lever. See it move very slightly there when you pull it out to the day date setting position, and just that little bit further and contacts the balance wheel when pulled out to the time setting position, like so. And then when pushed back in, as you can see, away the balance goes again. So apologies that you're not going to get to see the strip down of this particular one, but I hope the little preview that you have seen was interesting. I would actually very much like to strip and service and tackle this one. And apparently there are known issues with the dial side as well, which it would be interesting to see. However, that's as much as we're going to do on that one. So, but thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.